All right, I think all the attendees at this point are probably in. If Diana, you want to take over?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our morning get together on women-owned businesses. Please grab a cup of coffee, get yourself comfortable, and we hope we'll be beginning a trip that will change the rest of your life. So a little background on myself. They chose me to be moderator just because I have a past of being a women-owned business owner, and that was in the 70s, in the dark ages. My husband and I started our own business, and our attorney suggested that we become a certified women-owned business, as it would give us lots of opportunities to quote. Over the years that we were in business, it did give us lots of opportunities to quote, and so we were always grateful for that. The other thing that's different today than when we had our business was all the support that you can get. And that's what we're bringing to you today. Some information on support to start your own business. We didn't have that. And I think, today maybe we would have been more successful, although we were very successful. But we had a lot of ups and downs that maybe we could have prevented had we had the support that is available today. So we're going to get started. Your questions, if you have some, put them in the chat box. Once you hit the chat button, type in your question and then hit the enter button on your computer. That's how the questions get sent to us. And we are recording this session, so everyone that signed up will get a recording. So we're going to start out by introducing our panelists who have willingly joined us today to give us a little insight into what they've been through. The first person, and if you can wave so that they know which one you are, the first panelist will be Trish Kuntz. Her name is Trish, and she's a serial entrepreneur. She has an eclectic education and career background, starting out as a mechanical engineer, moved into software consulting for a supply chain optimization, and now having quite a few businesses. Her past lives have prepared her perfectly to be right where she is as an entrepreneur. She loves all aspects of creating, running, and growing a business. Marketing and networking are her favorite parts, along with building relationships and networking. Her business portfolio consists of the Purple Painted Lady, the Purple Painted Lady Art Festival, and Fig Hollow Barn. Our next person is Julie DeLilla. Julie is a partner in Empire Wrecking Company, a New York State WBE certified demolition asbestos abatement contractor, recently celebrating 59 years in business on 1/11. She is the managing member of two LLCs called Furnaceville Holding and Fern Property Holding that own and run two sand and gravel surface mines and collectively own about 211 acres of developed and undeveloped land on 11 separate parcels throughout Wayne County. Our third panelist is Melinda Kelsey. She is 50 years old. Did you wave, Melinda?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I missed it, sorry. She's 50 years old, and though she was slow to get started, she was very happy to own her own business and wish she had done it a lot sooner. And I'm sure lots of us feel that way. Our fourth panelist is Delcy Ann Grade. And Delcy is Director of Business Development at New York State Division of Minority and Women's Business Development. In her role, Delcy implements strategies and opportunities to provide valuable information and resources to NWBE's Minority Women Business. What's the E stand for, Delcy?
Enterprises.
Enterprises, okay. Delcy cultivated and managed employer relationships in the private and public sector to increase the number of quality internships and job opportunities for youth across New York State. Delcy has has 10 years of experience in business development, workforce development, program management, and partnership building. And we'll be hearing a lot more from her in the future. And our fifth panel member is Virginia Smith, U.S. Small Business Administration, Virginia is the U.S. Small Business Administration's Buffalo District Office's Rochester branch manager. That's a lot to say. SBA's primary role is helping small businesses start, grow, and succeed through counseling and training, guaranteed lending, and government contracting. In her role, Virginia develops relationships with SBA lenders, resource partners, and small businesses in the 14-county Western and Finger Lakes regions, helping to facilitate assistance to the local small business community. Our sixth person is our own Katie Bronson from Wayne County Economic Development. As Deputy Director and COO of 3 public agencies managed by this department, Katie supports planning, designing, and implementation of economic development strategies. She is instrumental in leveraging resources for both public and private entities to develop business activities and job growth in the community. Okay, that completes our introduction of our panelists. And now we have some prepared questions that they are ready to answer. I will read one question, and whoever, whichever of you wants to answer that can feel free to answer. The first question is, what inspired you to start and what obstacles did you face? Who'd like to be first? Oh, come on, Trish.
Can't stand the silence. So you asked what inspired me and what are the obstacles that I encountered?
Yes.
Okay, so, for me, I guess my journey was maybe because I was a stay-at-home mom. And then when I started my business, I was actually looking for sort of a side hustle, but yet I still wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And that was over, 13 or so years ago now. And what started as sort of a small hobby business has grown into multiple businesses and employs, a fair number of people in our county. So I guess where I'm at now, my destination, where I'm currently at, wasn't the intent when I first started. So, I was inspired to just be doing something outside of the home. That's how it started. And my husband often says that what he thought was going to be the main revenue generating path turned out to be somewhat of a side thing. And business is always interesting. You want to make sure that you just don't so much have your focus going forward that you miss out on these interesting opportunities on the side that might come in and surprise you. As for obstacles, I don't know, I guess as a woman-owned business, sometimes you're not always taken so seriously, right? I mean, you walk into a room and it could be full of men, and sometimes there's this pretense that they have about what you're doing, but I think just like any situation, just keep your eyes in your own lane and keep focusing on what you want to do and be positive and keep moving forward. And then, you buy a 6,000 square foot store and you host the largest art festival in Western New York, and you start a wedding barn, and you're a distributor for 2 major companies, and things will happen. So you just want to make sure you stay positive, focused, and make sure all your decisions are always moving towards your goal, because there's always going to be obstacles. Nobody gets it handed to them on a silver platter. We all, no matter who you are, what color you are, what gender you are, having a business is not for the faint of heart. So you just got to take what comes at you and keep moving forward.
Thanks, Trish. Julie?
Let's see now. Inspiration to start. I'm a little bit different than Trish in the sense that the business that I work in was started before I was born, and my role now is to keep it going. And we've been doing a pretty good job of that. And then as we've gone along, we've expanded, on what we have. And I couldn't agree more with Trish about just finding a way to go forward, finding a way to survive, just looking for opportunities, and just continuously just keeping that energy and enthusiasm going in your business. I would say that that's good advice to anybody, is that you really have to love what you do to a great extent, because it really is every day. It's all part of, it just consumes you really to make it successful.
Thank you.
So-
Melinda, do you have anything to add to that?
I was kind of the opposite of Trish in that I was out working and working hard, but getting frustrated, and I wanted to work from home instead of being out there. So I wanted to care for somebody that was sick at home, and I just found it easier to do that working from a home base. And because they were sick, we were low on funds, so our biggest challenge was getting started with not a lot to start with.
Okay, great, thanks. Trish?
I don't think we know what business Melinda owns. I may have missed it.
It's a cat boarding business, a kitty kennel. I worked at veterinary offices and I enjoyed animal care, but you can only go so far as what you can accomplish there. And I wanted to be able to have a little bit more control about what I was doing each day.
Thanks, Melinda. Okay, the second question is, how did you gain a network of support to start your business? Is there anyone who'd like to answer that right off?
Started out taking a score class at the library and getting a lot of connections there, as far as an accountant, a lawyer, that sort of thing. And then a lot of help from family.
Great, okay. Trish,
Repeat the question.
how did you gain a network of support to start your business?
How did I gain a network of support? You know, when I started my business, I wouldn't say I had a huge network. It was myself and my husband, and I really wasn't looking, I didn't really go looking outside. I think sometimes when you need to be careful, because if you have an idea and you put it out there, there's a lot of naysayers in the world. And, you know, I just knew this was something I wanted to do. And I went and got a DBA, and my husband and I looked at the numbers, and I figured, you know what, if I'm not successful, I was on a month-to-month lease at the time in the village of Palmyra. My investment was not extreme. I figured if I had to, I could do a clearance sale and I would walk away, you know, not really upside down. So from that perspective, I guess I look at it more once I started my business, how to grow it. And that's where for me, that's where a network of support was so critical in reaching out to, you know, being involved in the local community and just to get your name out there. Because if people don't know who you are, where you are, if you're a retail business such as me, you're not going to be successful. So.
Good info, thank you. Julie?
I would say, you know, we start with a base network and then we work, it just grows. And, you know, it's a customer service philosophy that you have to have in your business, to that one customer leads to another customer, leads to another customer. And I have to say, of you know, hundreds of customers that we have, I think I'm proud to say that a lot of them, you know, have been calling us for 30 years, you know, so it's yeah, customer service is just really important. Being a gentleman, if you will. I know that's not appropriate necessarily in a woman-owned business conversation, but that whole concept of a handshake meaning a lot, and, you know, being just trying to be honest and building on the network that you have is really important.
Okay, now you said that, you know, some of the businesses were there, but then you have started, you know, expanded and started your own businesses. And would you say then that customer service was the big part of that expansion also?
Yeah, I would say. Like for instance, we have customers that we do demolition jobs for, and then we needed somebody to put up a wall in our warehouse. So of course we called our customer from the one side to come over and build a wall on the other. So it definitely does feed off each other, because we try to give back business where we get it too. And that's what networking is all about, is just keeping good relationships with people.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Thank you. Okay, our next question is, what resources or funding did you find to help start and grow your business? Now, Melinda, you said you started out with not much money as far as, getting started. Do you have any tips for anybody on that?
After learning more and doing more research, I wish I had known that at the beginning, but I was kind of flying blind. So I just started out with GoFundMe and support from family.
Okay.
And a lot of credit cards, which I know you're not supposed to do.
Trish?
Yeah, so I'm kind of like with Melinda, and I also have the approach, and this is probably not the right forum to say it, but if you want to start a business, you kind of need to make sure you have enough money and a nest egg to get it going. I feel like if it's a viable business option, that the public we should be funding it. Like, so, I started my business with a credit card. I did. And I looked at how much I was spending. I made sure, a lot of people were like, go and get a storefront in Pittsburgh. But it didn't make any sense to me, because the rent in Pittsburgh is $2,000 to $4,000 a month. So, it's always great to be like, I want to do that, but you also need to, as a small business owner, and you're just starting out, need to be realistic. And if you have a family, it's even more important, because you don't want to, jeopardize your livelihood or your family's situation. So I started out small. And I think that's hard for some business owners. They don't want to start out small. They want to go big. And I personally am more conservative, and I have the thought process that as I was making money, I reinvested it in my business. And I was always looking for additional opportunities to bring in additional revenue streams and able to grow my business. So I didn't take, I guess a credit card is a loan. It's the same thing. It's borrowing money, but I was extremely conservative. And I know you probably don't want to do this, but I sort of had a game plan in my head that if this doesn't work out by this date, instead of like, just keep pulling money out where it wasn't coming in, I had sort of an exit plan. But I also always had thoughts in my head of how I was going to grow my business to make it bigger in order to be successful. But I didn't go out and solicit money or funds. I just started out super small, and it was a viable business idea, and it's grown over the last 12 years. So.
Thank you. Julie, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say that anytime we're looking for financing for anything, we shop it. And that would be my suggestion to anybody, is to really shop for your financing and press on fees and different things that they try to slide in there. Try to negotiate the best interest rate. If it's just there's a lot of competition out there to fund businesses and fund ideas. So my suggestion would be to go for the funding with the best interest rate. For equipment, I get a lot of 0% funding, and that has worked out really well for us, because it's basically like they're giving you the machine to use. So as long as you pay it back, of course. But I would say shop hard for funding. Shop hard. Don't just go for the low-hanging fruit, because you could definitely get hurt in the long run with fees and costs to borrowing money.
Thank you. Trish?
I think it's also important to differentiate, especially among who's attending and watching this and asking questions, is I'm a much smaller business and I'm in retail. than what like Julie does. Julie's more, I think, in the commercial sector, construction. That's how, just from what you shared with me, that's how
Yeah.
I would view your business. And a piece of your equipment, I don't even want to know how much it is. Like, you know, it's probably tens of thousands, if not over 100. I have no clue. So I'm in a different type of business arena than Julie is. So you'll probably hear some, and same with Melinda, a swing in some of our responses because of the different niches or arenas that we're in. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. Okay. The next question is, do you have any recommendations or insights to new women owners? Any advice?
I'll go. So again, it kind of depends on what direction of your business you're taking. You know, I once heard, it was on a television show on Bravo, and it was, what's his name? Lewis. It's a decorating show. Anyways, he was eating lunch with his father, and his father said, you know, the best type of business is the kind you can make money when you're sleeping. And that always stood with me. And I was like, that's interesting. So we have a retail store, which you can see around me, but we sell products online. So we have an online store, and on a daily basis, we may ship out of our Palmyra location. I don't know, I'll just say 60 to maybe 180 orders a day. So those orders can be coming in all through the night while we're sleeping. Now we got to pull the items and pack them and ship them. But, you know, think about your business in more than one dimension. You want to think about your business in different ways of how you can generate revenue. You don't want just one revenue stream, because if COVID hits and you can't be a fulfillment, if you're retail, you're probably going to be in, you would have really been hurting. So just kind of, I don't know, just think about ways of diversifying your revenue streams. And I think going back to the first thing I said when we started out was business is tough. And there's, you know, with social media, you'll see a lot of other people doing similar things, and you might be looking going like, what are they doing over there? And I want to do what they're doing. And you really need to just focus on your business and not be consumed or worried about what other people are doing. And like Julie said, customer service is king. So no matter at the end of the day, if it's a service, if it's a product, you know, you need your customers to walk out that door and be so happy that they're going to leave you an amazing Google review, a Yelp review, a Facebook review, because that's how you're going to grow your business.
Thank you, Tricia. Julie, do you have anything to add?
Yeah. My father used to say, would you rather be right or would you rather be rich? And when you get into business, sometimes you got to back down and close your mouth sometimes and just not say so much. And in order to be more successful and go forward better. I know that it's a very general thing to say, but think about that sometimes when you could say something or you couldn't say something, and maybe they're saying less will create a better harmony in whatever you're doing. And, you know, sometimes I know people are tempted to say certain things to their employees, for instance, and I tend not to. Just, you know, you got to pick your battles, and a lot of things you got to let it lie if you want to see the bigger picture and get to the end of the day and make your money. You know what I mean? You can't always pick and be very opinionated, because it doesn't work. Just doesn't work.
Yes, you alienate a lot of people that way. Melinda, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't think I could say anything as eloquently as these ladies have.
Okay. Okay. How do you promote your businesses? Let's start with Melinda first.
Well, mine is service oriented. So we do rely heavily on word of mouth. We have a website so people can get information about us without having to call and keep us on the phone all the time. Google is really good to us. We don't pay for advertising or anything, but the reviews are what bring people in. We've done stuff on Facebook and Nextdoor and things like that, but we've kind of moved past that at this point. And then we've just hit the ground and gone straight to veterinary offices and talked to them and said, you know, we're here. If you have people that are looking for a cat only place to board their pet, that they then know about us, and a little bribery, some cookies or whatever to just grease the wheels. And then just networking, passing out business cards like crazy, sign on the car, doing special events like Lollipops fundraiser in this March, which is coming up soon, and newsletters to the existing customers.
Wow, that's great. Sounds like you do a lot. Thank you. Julie or Trish?
I have an idea for Melinda. You should reach out to all the travel agents and wedding venues, because bride and grooms go away. They need someone to watch their cat. And then
Yeah,
travel agencies, people go on vacation and they needed somebody to watch their cat.
yeah, I'll write that down. That is a very good idea.
Trish, did you have anything to answer to that? How do you promote your business?
So, you know, ours is, well, I have the wedding venue and then we have the Purple Painted Lady. Our art festival is something that we started over 12 years ago. It's one of the largest in Western New York with 350 artists. That in itself was sort of started, one, because we want to support the local artists, but at the end of the day, we have a business and we need to grow our brand. And if you don't grow your brand, people don't know who you are. So locally, the festival has been extremely successful with us. We've also reached out to radio and news channels with sending them baskets, and we've had wonderful coverage and being invited on to do demos. But then at a national level, because our business is sort of, you know, twofold, it's local, but a lot of our business is out of state. So we have found, like our Pinterest boards, we get around 2 million people a month on our Pinterest boards. So that helps expand our brand. We do a lot of Facebook Lives. We're close to 70,000 Facebook followers. And then on Instagram, just doing reels and posting and having consistency with that. And then along with those things, we do Google ads. I will say, if you don't have somebody in your inner circle that understands Google ads, you may not want to do it, because I feel like it can be a spiral and a pit that just you throw a lot of money at. And unless you're really managing those numbers, your ROI, those people that call you out of the blue and say, hey, I want to help you, I would be cautious of that. But networking is huge. I network with many businesses in many different ways, kind of like Melinda targeting travel agencies, because you're helping board cats. So when people go away, I try to look at things differently and creatively of how I can connect to get names. So for example, we sell a certain line of paint that's wonderful for kitchen cabinets and bathroom vanities. I try to reach out to a lot of real estate agents, because the number one thing they hear is, I don't want to buy the house, the kitchen needs to be redone, it's too expensive. They'll have our color charts and say, go see the Purple Painted Lady. So think about creative ways of networking locally. And then if you're bigger than that, you can talk to me offline. I can give you ideas.
Okay, thank you. Julie?
I'm so into her answer that I can't remember what the question was.
The question was, how do you promote your business?
For us, it's networking. I'm so glad that we don't use the internet much. We really don't. I think sometimes it could be more harm than good, because but
Well,
I understand for some businesses they absolutely need it, but for us it's more networking and business cards and being available to answer that phone 24/7. You know, a lot of times people will call and say, "Well, you answer the phone on a Sunday," and I'm like, "Oh, yes, I do." That's more of our thing, is just being available all the time.
Okay, and I think, it depends on the business, how you
Yeah.
promote. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And our last question is, what advice do you have for a new business owner during a pandemic? Trish?
Again, so, our answers are gonna differ based on our core business, right? Because Julie's business is significantly different than mine. And unfortunately, Melinda, you probably were hurting because I'm guessing people weren't traveling and needing somebody to take care of their cat because so many people were home. But like with our business, which is retail, and it is regarding home improvement. So during COVID, what was everybody doing? They were home and doing home projects. So we already have a website. We already sold online. I think what's important, because what we experienced with the pandemic was unpredictable, unforeseen. Everyone thought it was going to be a couple weeks and we would be okay. And it wasn't the case. So if you don't, you got to be thinking very creatively on how can you still have opportunity. With us, like I said, we are a fulfillment service also. So through New York State, we applied for that, and we were shipping all throughout COVID. If you just got to think about how can you still provide a service, and if it's even possible based on what you do through that. For us, we were successful, but in other cases, there may not even be an option, right? Because your question was, repeat your question if you don't mind.
What advice do you have for new business owners during a pandemic?
During a pandemic, my gosh, I don't know. I mean, unless you're going to be providing a service and you're comfortable doing it during a pandemic, you may be smart to stay on working your full-time job and keep putting money in your bank. That may not be what you want to hear, but during a pandemic is a good time to be planning, determining your infrastructure going forward, crossing every T, dotting every I, but maybe holding off because you didn't want to sign a lease. But coming out of a pandemic, when the prices are still low, it probably would be a good time to look at rental and sign a lease before they start to go up. I don't know. I guess I don't have a solid answer. I'm just trying to give you something.
Okay, thank you. Melinda, do you have anything?
Yeah, we were pretty crippled because nobody was traveling. There was people working on stuff at home, so they had to remove their pets from the home temporarily, but nothing to the extent of someone taking a 2-week vacation. So yes, I went back to work and I went back to working at the veterinary practice. My husband got a job at a factory. I got an SBA loan and a PPP loan, and I looked into grant programs. Yeah, it wasn't fun.
Okay, well, that's, you struggled, but you survived, so that's a good thing.
Yeah,
Really?
everything's great now.
What, Melinda?
Everything's great now. Everybody's dying to go somewhere right now.
Yeah, now you'll have too much business, feast or famine. Julie?
The only thing I would add is actually, I've recognized that the pandemic has changed the way we do a lot of things. And certainly education has been impacted tremendously by the pandemic. And I don't think that if it ended tomorrow, I don't think that we should go back to the way it was. I still think that online learning is a really good tool, and the attendance at work, in the office, I mean, it should be changed. There should be, a hybrid mix of being in the office and being at home. I really think that that's the only thing that is a sustainable model for people with families. And if they could work from home and go to the office and just be this more flexible environment. So the pandemic is actually changing the way a lot of things are done. And I think that there might be some business opportunities there for certain businesses that might, organize online meetings or facilitate some sort of facilitate some sort of a niche that brings together this changed business environment where people aren't in the office all the time. There could be opportunities. COVID
Yeah, so-
silver lining.
So along with the negative, there are some positives. And-
Yeah,
And some experiences that, moving forward, we may be able to tag onto, I think.
yeah, I think there could be some opportunities.
Okay, now we're going to switch to Virginia Smith. Virginia?
I'm sorry, Diana, before we switch to Virginia, there were just a few questions that were pertinent to the panelists that I feel like I don't want to move ahead because the context will be messed up a little bit. So someone was wondering, what government or public funding support have you all received, if any? Trisha?
Again, my business may be a little different. I have a retail location. I haven't received any government funding.
Julie?
I did get PPP loans. But other than that, I don't think maybe one time I did get a loan and the bank actually made it a bank, SBA backed loan, but I didn't even know that they did that. But
Okay.
it was a loan for a piece of equipment and they got it. So as far as that goes, I would say the PPP loan was the largest government assistance I've ever gotten.
Okay, thank you. Melinda?
I got a BA loan and also a PPP loan.
Okay, great. All right.
Oh, another question that's aimed at Trish. Can you speak more about how you grew your network within the community when you were first starting your first business?
I think the most important part of that is being social and positive, right? Just, I don't think I walk out of a grocery store without knowing somebody, like meeting somebody. And I'm always like excited to share with people about my business and what we do. And have you ever heard about the Purple Painted Lady Festival? And, my daughter jokes with me, she's 17 and because we almost have 70,000 Facebook followers. And she's like, Mom, I remember when you hit 250 people and how excited you were. And every milestone is exciting, but you're not going to do that overnight, right? So that's why I said, stay in your own lane and just focus on growing your business. I'd say I'm growing my empire one person at a time. And that's important. And like you're at the Macedon Library. If you have a small business locally, maybe there's some type of program that you could do at the Macedon Library. And then the Macedon Library promotes your business. So now it's exposed to maybe 5 to 10 people, but maybe 40 people saw it on some poster or in a newsletter. You just got to look at creative ways and doing everything in baby steps. This, what you see behind me in our wedding barn, did not happen overnight. It took, over 12 years. And like Julie said, I work every single day. People go, oh, owning your own business is awesome. You can take off whenever you want. I have 2 people working here with me right now. How often do I go on vacation? Never. I never almost go. And that's not good balance. I'm working on that. But if you really want to have a successful business, it has to come from your heart. You need to be passionate about it. You need to be excited about it. And from a small business in a local level, it will extrapolate, like it'll grow. But you just need to put yourself out there.
Thanks,
Um,
Trish.
Next question is there a woman attorney locally that any of you could recommend that could help you set up all the proper paperwork for your business? Or did any of you have a local New York State female attorney?
I didn't. You need to get you need a DBA, right? You need to sign a lease or figure out your game plan, come up with your own. I think as a small business, I'm very different than Julie in the infrastructure and the type of business I am. I started out very small. Melinda, maybe you and I can relate a little bit on this, but I looked at what kind of funding do I have? How much do I need to invest? What's the risk? What do I think the return on that's going to be? But to start a small business like mine, I didn't use an attorney. I think, I just didn't. I did my DBA. I got a bank account. You need to make sure you file, for my case, a resale certificate with New York State. And you start out small, and if it grows, then you go to the federal level and get your EIN number. So it depends on the type of business that person is looking to create. If it's something like they want to have a business with other caretakers to take care of people in their home, that's a totally different type of situation than me. They probably are going to want to make sure that they speak to an attorney and make sure they have insurance and everything's covered from whatever they need to do.
Anyone else want to chime in? Melinda?
I went through Polano and Farrow, and the lawyer was Bridget Kemp.
Thank you. And this last question is a yes, no. Did you have a business plan when you started? Tricia?
Yes.
Melinda?
Yeah,
And Julie?
No,
No?
not really.
But do you think you sort of inherited your business a little bit? Like it was your
Yeah,
dad?
there's like, at the beginning, there was the articles of incorporation, and then that was sort of like the game plan of how the business would be structured and what we would do and the scope of our work and who was supposed to do what. But that was back in 1963 when that was set up. But I still find it kind of nice to read today that
Yeah.
because, you know, really not too much has changed. My grandfather was in the Navy, so he did a lot of underwater rescue and welding and ship repair. And we never did the marine part of the wrecking, you know, that sort of fell off. But other than that, the company stayed pretty much the same.
Probably.
Local.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Probably the person who first started it might have had a business plan though.
Yeah, they did. It wasn't as formal as business plans are today.
All
It
right.
wouldn't, I think they're really important, and it probably would help us to map things out better. I think that they're extremely useful.
Thanks. And that's it for panelist directed questions. Now we can move on to Virginia. Thanks for your patience, Virginia.
Good morning. So I want to follow up with so many of these things. Number one, thank you so much for inviting me to be a panelist. You know, the women-owned small businesses in Wayne County are fantastic, as we've talked about with the 3 that are here. But we also hosted a women-owned small business boot camp right before the pandemic hit, and we had a group of fabulous business owners. So what I would say, number one, is just real quick. These ladies are open and honest and willing to talk. So please make sure that you make the connections that you can. So what does the SBA do? We are a federal agency dedicated to helping small businesses. When it comes to women-owned small businesses, it really runs the gamut. The 4 main things we do is we help counseling and training. So SCORE, if you're familiar with SCORE, is a resource partner. They are a free business advisors and mentors who work directly with Wayne County Economic Development. They have a great relationship with the Maston Public Library. They can meet you in person. They can talk to you on the phone. They can do it virtually. They can help with really anything from soup to nuts. You're starting your business, you're working on projections. I saw in the chat, someone said, who can help me with my financial projections? They do classes. It really works well. There is also, I am proud to announce, a women's business center, an official women's business center in the city of Rochester that just opened up this month. So if that is something that you're interested in, and I always say the more the merrier. Julie's heard me say this way too many times probably, but the more people that you can have help you and you can talk to and bounce ideas off, the better you're going to be. At the end of the day, it's your business. You're going to make the decision that's what's right for you. But when we have all these free resources, we want you to be able to reach out to them. So please don't say, well, I can only go to SCORE. I can only go to the Women's Business Center, right? They're all different people and they all have different skill sets. So, you know, the more that you can have on your team, the better. So that's the training and the counseling. We also have a small business development center that's affiliated with SUNY Brockport that covers Wayne County. And then money, I heard a lot of questions about money. How does the federal government help with funding? So the PPP money is done and gone. So that was a coronavirus reaction. The economic injury disaster loans, if any of you are working on those, new applications are gone, but you might still be eligible for an increase. If that's something that you're looking into. And the third thing we do is frankly, we just guarantee loans. So Julie, I'm picking on you just because you seem to be my big screen right now, and I don't really know why. But what happens is when you go to a bank and you're looking for funds, they're going to say, why? And how are you going to pay us back? And they then take a look at that and say, okay, you know, we're happy with this. We're good to go. The second thing they may say is we're a little nervous. So in Julie's case or Melinda's case, something made them a little nervous, right? I don't want to even suggest what their particular situations were, but maybe it's an industry concern. Maybe it's a lack of collateral concern, right? So they ask the government to guarantee the loan. In that case, we come in and we'll guarantee it, but the relationships is with the lenders. And one of the great things about Wayne County is you have a significant number of lenders in the area who are simply supportive of small businesses. They truly are. So starting that conversation with them. You know, the third thing they may say is no. And if they say no, you say why. And then you start to work on why and either change their mind or go somewhere else. Okay, so that's that. Now, there are no specific funding sources for women on the federal space. There may be some locally, there may be some from nonprofit institutions, but from the federal space, we're fantastic that you're a woman-owned small business, but all of our financial products are for everyone. What we do have special for women-owned small businesses is the contracting. And contracting is our fancy way to say, can we buy your product or service? And directly or via a subcontract. So there is a significant amount of money out there for us to purchase from a woman-owned small business. We actually have a procurement technical assistance center who all they do is talk about contracting, whether it's federal, state, or local. So we have a resource to help you with that because sometimes the paperwork can be a little overwhelming. But the thought process is if you think that your business might benefit from selling your product or service to the feds or the states, we have someone who can help you. I got in trouble one time when I said, oh, I don't know that we might buy your product because somebody in the back had an iPad that said, oh, well, actually you are. So what I always say is do some research, have someone help you think it through because it may benefit you. It may benefit you now. It may benefit you 6 months in a year, but it's something to think about because you don't want to leave that space unturned if the government might be able to buy your product or service, even through a subcontract. So because we have a requirement that 23% of 500 billion has to be purchased from a small business. That's a lot of money out there. So if you think you might be able to take part in that, we're going to find somebody to help you figure that out. So that's kind of my spiel. I'm here all the time to help in any way that I can. And if I can't help, I will find someone who can help you. That's how I work. And then when we get more out into the community, I hope that you'll see my face more at the public library where we can have some classes or maybe just out visiting some of our local businesses. I try to get out as much as possible.
Thanks, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey, you're up.
All right, thank you so much. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And I have quite a bit of information to share with everyone. So I am really excited. Let me go ahead and get this in presentation mode. All right. Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen. I hope everyone can hear me. But thank you again for the opportunity to present on the New York State MWBE certification process. I know some of the businesses here might not be certified, some may be certified. So I think throughout the presentation, there'll be information that will help everyone depending on what stage you are in. So again, my name is Delcy Andrade. I'm the Director of Business Development here at the New York State Division of Minority and Women's Business Development, which is a division of Empire State Development. So I won't go through each one of the agenda items, but again, quite a bit of information here, especially if you're not certified. There's a lot that I want to be able to share with all of you in terms of how you can become certified and then gain access to New York State contracting opportunities. And at the end of the presentation, I will leave you with our contact information so that at any point in your journey of becoming certified and beyond, you do have a point person or persons that you can reach out to in case you have any questions. So jumping right in, sharing a little bit more about our division. But in 1988, Article 15A of the Executive Law established our division to promote employment and business opportunities on state contracts for minorities and women. So our mission is to promote the equality of economic opportunities for MWBEs and to also eliminate barriers to their participation in state contracts. So in terms of achieving this mission, we do focus on 3 key objectives. The first is we review applications by businesses seeking certification, and we also maintain a directory of certified MWBEs. We also assist state agency in awarding contracts to MWBEs, and we empower certified MWBEs in business development by offering education and outreach opportunities. So right now, New York State is leading the nation in MWBE utilization, and we are at 30.51%. And our division plays an integral role in continuing to increase that utilization each year. So why exactly do we certify? So the New York State MWBE program, again, was created as the result of an executive law. And the law establishes specific requirements for who is eligible to participate and what requirements they must meet. And the certification process ensures that only bona fide minority and women-owned firms may participate in the program. So this certification process deters fraud and abuse and allows the division to track participation by state agencies in awarding contracts. So businesses who do want to become certified, they must demonstrate their eligibility by submitting an application with the division. So what are the benefits of being certified? So one, after becoming certified, your firm is listed in the New York State Directory of Certified MWBEs. And really think of this as your virtual business card, and it gives your firm visibility with state agencies. Your firm also gains access to tailored MWBE procurement and contract opportunities. And your business also gains access to a statewide network of support and services for MWBEs, such as business development workshops, technical assistance webinars, pre-bid and project information events, and much more. So there are indeed important resources which can help you differentiate your minority and or women-owned business and gain a competitive edge. So sharing more about our process. So in the past, the division led a centralized certification application review process, which ultimately caused a lot of delays and longer wait times. So for example, one analyst will oversee the full phase of the application review from intake to compliance review down to making a final decision in regards to certification. And in this process, analysts cannot begin reviewing new applications until that full application was processed. And that also took into consideration, requests for additional documentation that can take up to 30 days plus. But now, the division recently implemented a new decentralized application review process. So when you apply, your application goes through 4 phases in the division's application review process. But before beginning your application, it is important to remember that you must meet criteria outlined in Article 15A. So two things I want to note. To easily assess, whether you meet the eligibility, the division has launched an online resource called the Certification Assessment Tool. So this is a questionnaire consisting of a set of questions specifically designed to help you determine whether you meet the criteria. If you don't meet the criteria after you complete that assessment tool, I do have information on a brand new unit that has been developed in our division. It's called the Customer Care Unit. So for any questions, whether it's I've applied, I don't know what the status of my application is, how much longer is it going to be, to, I filled out the assessment tool and it says that I'm not ready. Can you please provide me more information? We do have a unit, a brand new team that is solely focused on providing that information. So really focused on exceptional service and also transparency in regards to your application process, which I believe years ago maybe wasn't around here in the division. So we're excited to have that. Also on our homepage, just to let you know, I have a little image here on the slide. We do have an animated video just outlining the certification process. So if you're brand new, you're just thinking about this, I think it's about 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minute video. It really outlines step by step the whole process. So again, once you've taken that assessment, the next step is really for you to start gathering all of the required documentation. So just a little bit more on the process. So after you submit your application, phase 1 is really the application intake phase. So this is where we are looking for completeness of the information received. Then your application moves into phase 2, where we perform a thorough analysis of your application and supporting documentation. Then in phase 3, this is all about compliance. So really reviewing for Article 15A eligibility, and then making a determination in regards to the assigned industry codes. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then in phase 4, this is a notice of determination. This is where, the final decision is actually made. And the applicant will soon after be able to see the determination in their account in the New York State contract system, which I'll also highlight. So in terms of application types, so for firms who have not yet been certified by the state, you are eligible to submit a new application for minority-owned, women-owned, or minority and women-owned business. You can also opt in for the one-stop addendum and select up to 3 New York State one-stop addendum partner agencies to receive your application. And I listed the partners here in parentheses next to the one-stop addendum. So this service with the one-stop addendum, I just want to emphasize it is a one-time courtesy for applicants that have never previously applied or are not currently under review for MWBE certification with any other partners or division. Also, if you already have a certification from at least one of the 5 fast track partner agencies, and I listed them here on the slide, you are eligible to submit a new fast track application with the state. So you must be New York State or New Jersey organized business and have the current certification that you do have with one of the 5 partners. It has to be within 90 days remaining and no major business changes. So just to let everyone know, the main benefit of Fast Track is that it reduces the number and type of documentation that you need to submit with your application. So I think a lot of times when we say Fast Track, we're thinking, oh, I'm going to get through this process so much faster. That's not necessarily the case. It just means that, we already have some of your documentation from the partner. So it means you don't have to submit as much documentation. And then lastly, I'll just say Fast Track is also available for firms who are actively participating in Federal A Business Development Program, or the firm is certified as a disadvantaged business enterprise. So diving in a little bit deeper, just in terms of, the ABCs of certification. So what exactly is the state looking for? So jumping right into A. So A stands for applicant. So does the applicant demonstrate the following, which is 51% ownership of the applicant business, a personal net worth below 50 million, is a United States citizen or permanent resident, and belongs to a minority group and or is a woman. So to demonstrate that you meet these criteria, the division looks at your certification affidavit and your personal net worth statement, complete personal tax returns, among other things, which I have listed here. Going on to B, B stands for the business. So does the business have less than 300 employees and satisfy the small business requirement? So the division here is looking at a whole host of documents, including your business tax returns, W-2, stock ledgers, application for authority, certification of incorporation, just a lot of documentation here. And to meet the small business requirement, a firm must not employ more than 300 individuals, must actively conduct business in New York State, and must contribute to the New York State economy. And 13, side 13. So the C stands for control, but also operations and contribution. So the applicant must demonstrate control over their business. So has the applicant made contributions equal to their ownership? And I'll just jump in a little bit more because there's a lot here in terms of control. So one thing in regards to capitalization, so the applicant must demonstrate that they have made a capital contribution in the form of money, property, equipment, or expertise proportion to the ownership interest in the business. So the division looks at documentation, which shows the value of the contribution made. We're also looking at risk and profit. The applicant must demonstrate that they share in the risk and profits of the business in proportion to ownership interest. So we're looking at compensation received by the applicant. We're looking at loans, leases, reinvestments, into the business. In terms of operation, can the applicant show that they can independently operate the business? So this is demonstrated by having competence in the industry, devoting time to business activity, and having operational decision-making power. So if your documentation shows that, the applicant has little to no experience or does not have any knowledge of key revenue generating functions of the business, even if the owner owns, the title of president or chief executive, you may not be able to demonstrate that you independently operate the business. And then in terms of control, the division looks at operating agreements, bylaws, signed business contracts, bank signature cards, etc. So I just want to make sure I shared a lot of this. So in terms of the state's MWB certification, there is quite a bit of documentation that we are looking at, mainly because we are following an executive law. So application intake. So this is critical to the successful review of your application. So if you're missing documentation or your documents, contain inconsistent information, the application will be returned. So in terms of, returned applications, you as an applicant have time to edit the application, make corrections, submit additional documentation. It just means that it adds on to the delays in your review. And then before submitting your application, just wanted to go over some common mistakes that can be avoided. So when submitting your application, some of this is, pretty straightforward. You want to attach the correct documentations for each section online. You want to sign and notarize where applicable. You want to make sure your personal net worth statement is, filled out and notarized. All of the attachments are included. And in terms of tax documentations, you want to include all of the pages. So not just the first 2 pages, not just the first 5, you want to include the whole tax return document. So when you complete the MWB certification application, I do want to note you are able to request codes to be assigned to your directory profile. And mainly these are NAICS codes, which classify businesses based on industry or economic activity. So with your assigned codes in the directory, state agencies, authorities, prime contractors, they can search and identify firms based on your codes and other keywords for your business. And when you do submit an MWBE certification application, at the same time, you are creating a vendor profile. Again, this is your business card for the state. So again, state agencies, authorities, private companies, they are going in and they can search for you based on those codes. And one other thing just to note on the codes, that's part of you selecting specific codes. You are required to submit documentation that shows that your business performs work in the industries that you selected for your codes. So there is a very, very thorough vetting across all stages when we're talking New York State MWBE certification. So just to highlight here, so where do I go? I want to start an application, you know, how can I get started? So to start, you do want to visit the New York State contract system. So on the homepage, you'll scroll down to the MWBE certification section, and you can click here to apply for your certification. And for some of you who are already certified, this is the exact area that you come to recertify. And I believe recertification happens every 5 years. So once you're certified, you're good for the 5, and then you apply for recertification every 5 years. So for those applying for the first time, you want to select the first option when you're on the homepage, which is, it basically just says certify or recertify with New York. So you would click there. I do want to touch on technical assistance, and I know Virginia mentioned PTAX, I believe. So you want to make sure that you're connecting with supports that can assist you with your application. So that's, you know, looking over your application, reviewing documents, and just generally providing other business supports. So when you submit a complete application with accurate information, all of the documentation is included, the process generally will run faster because those requests for additional documentation and other questions, you know, won't provide, you know, additional time for review. So I just want to highlight PTAX and SBDCs. Definitely visit them, schedule an appointment, just get another pair of eyes on the application and your documents. Also, for those, I know it's not listed here and I can share it after the meeting, but for those of you who are not sure if certification is for you or if your business services are what state agencies are exactly looking for, I do recommend reviewing the Directory of Frequently Purchased Commodities and Services by New York State agencies. This is a kind of large PDF file, but it is on the State Comptroller's website, and I can share that link. The data is going back to 2017, but it does provide you still a good overview of what agencies are typically buying. So just in case you're thinking, I don't know if this is for me, you know, does the state even want what what my business is able to provide or the goods that I'm selling? I would definitely check that out. And also check out the New York State Contract Reporter. This is the official publication of New York State agency procurements. So all agencies and authorities are required to post any procurement or contracting opportunities that are $50,000 plus. So just wanted to make that note there. Definitely visit the New York State Contract Reporter, and I can add those links onto the chat. I also wanted to highlight ESD's Small Business Division. They have programs and initiatives supporting small business growth. and really helping entrepreneurs maximize opportunities for success. And they have several loan programs, including a alternative loan or alternative lender directory on the site as well. So there's a lot of great opportunities through our small business division. So I definitely want to encourage all of you, especially for some of you starting your businesses, to definitely visit. And then I do want to highlight our business development unit. So our mission in business development here in the division is to provide MWBEs with information and resources necessary to become successful with state contracts. So we provide information on how to sell to New York State, information on current New York State contracting opportunities, tools to leverage your certification once you are certified, and information on access to capital, technical support. I also encourage you to visit our Division of Minority and Women's Business Development homepage. We do host webinars every month. We just had one yesterday. It was on capital and cash flow, which was a really great topic for small businesses. So I do want to share the contact information of our analyst in our unit. So depending on the location of your businesses, and I know some, you might have multiple businesses in different, parts of the state, but these are our go-to amazing team here that can host one-on-one conversations and meetings with you, just in terms of New York State contracting opportunities. And generally just listed here is our division email address. So if you send an email to mwbebusinessdev@esd.ny.gov, it comes to the whole team, including myself. And then I just want to wrap there. I was seeing some flashes with some questions, and I know I probably went way over time, but here is our business development unit email address, also customer care. Again, for those of you who might already have applications with us, you want to know the status, you have general questions on certification, you definitely want to reach out to our customer care unit. I know one of the questions that we get a lot is, all right, how long exactly does this application process take? One thing I will say to you is we are unable to share an exact time frame. Where I can say it will take X amount of days. It very, very much depends on your application, the documents you're submitted, your business structure, and really going through our 4 phases again, which is a new decentralized process for us. So unfortunately, I am unable to share an exact time frame, but what I would emphasize again, if you're submitting a complete application with all of the required documents, it should go faster. But all to say, I also want to mention our social media. We just created new social media pages for the division. Definitely follow us. We're always, posting and promoting the different technical assistance events that we're having, and definitely visit our homepage for more information as well. But I will keep this up. And I don't even know if I know I'm way over time, but I'm happy to answer any questions now, or we can schedule one-on-ones where we can really dive deeper based on your business structure.
Thank you, Dulcie. We do have several questions. So, and we will be sending this information out. So they should get a copy of all of this.
Okay.
One of the attendees is interested in knowing if it might be prudent to wait a year or so before applying for certification, thinking it might help with the proof they need for certification.
This is a really good question, and I don't want to stray RB, I think it is, in one direction or the other. I would just advise RB, if you can just send us an email and let's have a conversation. I want to learn a little bit more before I just make kind of a blanket yes or no. So definitely let's get in touch and have a conversation.
And then there was another attendee that was wondering, since this sounds very overwhelming, and I don't think Julie and, I mean, excuse me, Melinda and Tricia are MWBE. However, Julie is, and might she have any information and what tools she or resources she used to assist her to be successful? Julie, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Delsey, I don't know how long you've been in your position, but everything you've presented today, I'm very impressed.
Oh,
I think I have to check. I think I actually need to do my recertification, but 5 years ago, everything you're saying, that kind of communication wasn't really, it was a little more difficult. So I'm really appreciating all of this communication and this team approach by region of the state to address the certifications. And I hope that you're fully staffed with people that are reviewing applications, because I think that that's really important.
Julie, thank you so much for sharing that. One thing to share with everyone, we are actually expanding our staff. So we are actually hiring regional staff. So I believe we are aiming for 1 to 2. And these are senior certification analysts that will be working not out of New York City, but in each one of the regions. So that is happening right now. We've already staffed up, I think about four different regions. So once I get some more information there, Katie, the rest of the team, I can share that information out. And yeah, just Julie mentioning staff, there's a lot of great things happening in the division, a lot of staff being hired, and I'm fairly new. I've been here for 5 months now. So yeah, there's a lot happening, but I'm glad the information is helpful.
I think it is, Delsey. Thank you so much. I'm very pleased to see this.
A panelist is wondering if she's a woman, does she apply for WBE or MWBE? And also, if she wants to get both national and state, should she do one and then the other, or at the same time? What's the most efficient way to go about it?
Yeah, in terms of application type, so again, it's MBE, so Minority Business Enterprise, WBE, Women's Business Enterprise, or MWBE, meaning you are a minority and women-owned business enterprise. So it really depends wherever the person who asked the question falls. If you are a woman and you are a minority, I would go for the MWBE. If you are a woman, not a minority, then WBE. And then the last question, can you just repeat that?
Sure.
Federal versus state?
Yeah, basically, she wants to go for both the national or federal and state. And should she do one and then the other, or should she do it at the same time? What's the best, most efficient way to go about it?
On the federal lens of things, I don't want to misspeak because I'm not well versed on all of the federal certifications. Obviously for the state, we have our MWBE certification. I know what the city, New York City has its own certification. And plus there are some of the partners that I listed in terms of the one-stop or the addendum and then the fast track. That one, I wouldn't say one outweighs the other. It really depends on what exactly you would want to do as a business. But similar to what I shared with RB, I always advise, let's talk, because every single business is different. Your needs are going to be different. Your business structure is different. So I would say, let's have a conversation one-on-one with either myself or our analyst, and we can kind of provide better direction that way.
So this is Virginia. Let me take a little crack at that. At the end of the day, there is not reciprocity between the documentation needed for the federal side as well as the state side. So you do have to apply for them separately. There are a few programs, as Dulcie mentioned, that if you're certified with one, it can help you with the certification. So one of the great things about the PTACs, and in our area, it's the Monroe County Finger Lakes PTAC. And it's a really long website, but that's actually their website. If you quick Google them, they can help with both local, state, and federal. So at the end of the day, there are some documents that you're going to need that you'll have both entities need. But there's a lot of things that maybe are slightly different. So it's great to have a conversation, but the fact that we have these local resources who can hold your hand and make sure all your I's and T's are dotted while you go through it is really important. So you want to reach out to them. And the second part is, Dulcie makes a really good point. It's great to get these certifications, but if there is a state agency that's buying your product or service within the next 6 months, or you do some research and the federal government is a year out because they just awarded a contract, you can see which ones work better for your timing on growing your business. So it does involve a little bit of research and conversations.
Virginia, thank you so much for that.
And we have a question. Does anyone know if there are any consulting companies that can help you with navigating through this process?
Don't pay them. No. The PTACs and SCORE and the SBDC are free. Please, please. I love our consultants and I know they do a fantastic job, but so do our free resources. And I know that as small business owners, you probably need that cash to spend on something else. So please reach out to the free people, please.
And there's a link in the chat if you want to go to PTAC.
Are there any more questions, Stacy?
I believe that's it, unless somebody wants to type one in really quickly.
Okay, well, I think we're going to close. We want to thank everyone for joining us today. This program was brought to you by the Wayne County Economic Development and the Wayne County Business Council. And we want to wish you the best of luck starting your new business.
Yeah, and if I could just say one thing before we leave, I want to thank everyone for being here today. I think this was such a great resource. I know I learned a lot, so I hope everybody else did. And also just make sure that you contact us. As we've talked about, there are a lot of resources. We might not be the best person, but maybe someone we know will be for you. So, give Wayne County Economic Development a call or check out our website. We have our website, which is wedcny.com. And it has a lot of our Kickstart initiatives, plus a number of our business resources, or just give us a call. Our phone number is 315-946-5919. And again, we will provide you resources, contacts with SCORE, SBDC, SBA, MWBE. The point is to get you in the right direction.
And Katie, do you want to say something real quick about the pitch contest?
Absolutely. So for the past 3 years, we've had our Wayne County Startup Pitch Competition. That is part of our Kickstart initiative, which is to help new businesses grow and become an existing business or a new business. We've had 3 successful years. We're going to be doing it again this year. My suggestion is to take a look at our website come mid to late March. We're going to be providing updates both on the pitch competition and our microburst program, which is another program for new businesses. So keep an eye out for that. We're making some tweaks. We're going to again be bringing the pitch competition again. And so we want to see more people apply and again, bring those ideas and business resource, business ideas to the pitch competition, because we love to see what you're doing, and we want to make sure businesses are growing in Wayne County.
Thank you, Katie. Anyone else?
This was excellent. Thank you for sharing all of that information. I think your slides were very thorough. I, as a small business, never considered doing this, but I sell wall paint and do other types of things. And New York State obviously needs paint. This would probably be a really great,
Yes.
opportunity for me. So I'm going to follow up on it.
Yes, and please, please feel free to, and you know what, I'll actually throw my email into the chat really quickly. But hopefully everyone can see that. But no, thank you so much, Katie and the rest of the team for the opportunity to share.
And I am going to be sending out a little survey monkey for all of our attendees, just to see what you thought about, any suggestions for improvements, or are there other topics you want to address as well? So take a look for that. It'll be a short survey just so then we can get feedback, because that's how we identified this as a panel discussion. People kept on asking the question about women-owned businesses. So with Diane, Stacy, and myself, we decided let's do a panel discussion. So we're looking for more ideas like that.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.